So tonight we have Stig Marlon Weston, who's above me on my screen. Not sure where he is on your screen, but he's the founder of Science Studio in Oslo, Norway, and he's co-founder of the Nordic Analog Network, and he was this year's guest juror for Living Image. And so I think without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Stig to chat with you guys about how he put together the show. And also, I just want to say one other thing. Um, if you are an artist who has work in the show, like go ahead and put that in the chat. Just kind of say hi to everyone in the chat. And if it's okay, Steve, can I go ahead and launch right into the slideshow, or do you want to
Yeah,
say anything?
sure. Sure. I think
Okay.
everybody wants the images if they haven't been to the exhibition. Um,
Okay.
I I would like to just start out and say I was honored to be asked to jury this, as I've taken part as an artist before in the Living Image exhibition, and I've visited Halide Project, the gallery and the darkroom, and seen the people and the place and the Living Image exhibition that was this winter, last winter. Um, I kind of know what it's about, even though I live on the other side of the ocean. And I really like both the place and the event. So honored to be here and to be allowed to look through all the submitted photographs and really think about what I was shown. I have been during different exhibitions and competitions and festivals before, and it's always an exciting and challenging thing to do. With this one, it was particularly hard, I found, because I ended up, well, I think I wrote you, Dale, afterwards, like this was a hard one because there was so much I really liked and felt like, okay, I'm sure you have all the submitted work now on file, so you can look through things if you want to afterwards. Um, and also because so much of this work, this analog photography, is about the material print or the material end product and the things that we make. So just drawing on a screen is hard and it's annoying in a way, I find. I've juried other exhibitions where there's physical work being shown, and if it's paintings or sculpture or photography or what together, and it's really nice just to be in the room with the works. But doing it on a screen is challenging in a very different way. But then again, the experience I've had before with juring and that I used now was to take the time to do it properly. Because it might feel easy to sit on a screen and just like scroll through lots of stuff and quickly decide, like the thumbnails are easy to get an overview and all this, but really you can't. You have to look properly and you have to zoom in and out and think about it. And from earlier during, I did the same thing here, that I took the time to go through and look and think and then come back the next day and the next week and not really do it as a quick done and decided, but take the time to think about what I remembered and think about what I imagined the works would be in real life. And then it's also the thing of drawing something alone. It's maybe easier because you can just decide, but it's also harder to then take on the responsibility of the whole setup and the choice and the selection of everything. So then again, taking the time to think about it and look through the overall selection and think again another time. I really enjoyed being in juries where we can discuss with each other. That was harder this time. But then I've also been in juries where you sit alone and then you vote. and you know that your vote doesn't count for the whole thing because there's lots of other people voting. And that is maybe the worst type of jurying, I think, where you kind of have to take responsibility, but at the same time, it's so easy to slip and think that, well, my vote doesn't count that much. And also be more careful about giving more extreme votes, decide harder what you don't like and what you really like. Because if you're wishy-washy and putting things in the middle, it's not going to really make a difference. But this time, being alone was hard, being online was hard, but taking the time was really good and worthwhile. So I enjoyed it a lot. And I have to say there was this limit of how much work can fit in the gallery space and how much, Dale, you said that I should choose, and then I extended it a little bit and added some more. I think the selection ending up in the exhibition is something I'm really happy with. I so wish I could see the actual physical exhibition, but I am pretty sure it's good and interesting. I think the overall thing I'm thinking about is making an whole selection and an exhibition that I would want to go and see. And not only that I would want to go and see, but I would want to recommend to others, or maybe go back and see again myself. So that it's something that is worthwhile, not just for the photographers to be part of, but for the audience to come and explore. Well, doing this during was interesting as it came at the same time or just after I'd been curating or jurying for this Nordic analog exhibition. And I did that together with another photographer and a darkroom organizer. And we organized this exhibition in Oslo, Norway, where I am. But she was in Helsinki, Finland, and we've been online and looking at analog photographs on a screen to decide what to include. And overall goal was the same, this making an exhibition that is going to be interesting and exciting to see and inspiring to see. And even though I haven't been to Halide now and seen this exhibition, I am sure that I would also be inspired to see that one. I've been feeling inspired looking at my screen at least. And really hoping that I see some more of these works other places. The end selection to me felt a bit like it was 3 parts, that it was, in my head at least, divided into 3 types of images. The ones that are truly abstract and only constructed and made. And then the ones that are more reality-based, but commentary on reality and not like pure documentary. And then there were the more reconfigured photographs, or the photographs that speak about photography while the photographer is reworking the material, or the material is reworking the subject. So they're pretty general themes, but at the same time, it helped me to just organize what I was seeing and thinking about how many of each type was good to include and how they could fit together. So I hope those of you who've seen the exhibition that you felt that there was an overall connection between works, and that they left you with a more complete picture than just seeing a few of them at a time. I had this weird thing with looking at the images first rounds and then coming back to them, and which ones I remembered the best and which ones felt like they were defining the whole selection. And I kind of came to the conclusion that felt like the exhibition as a whole was commenting on the experience of the now, both as a how the world is right now, of course, but also how photography speaks about the now, or what actually was before, or how we remember it, or how it's seen after it happens. This idea of the now is always moving. It's a moving now, so there's really never a now. It's always has been. And photography as a medium that thinks about this, and how the images think about this, and how different photographers work with this. Even maybe we don't always think about it. I felt like this is what the submitted works made me think about. And then it was easier to select, like, okay, does this pull me in that direction or does it not? Does it make me think deeper about this thought that I feel the other works make me think about, or does it pull me away from it? So I can't say that all the photographers have worked with the idea of time or preservation or experience of now or memory, but it's still this underlying idea I had when I made the final selections, like, okay, these are all pulling me in that direction. This is the overall feel I get. And I was quite happy actually when I got this collection of images that Dale is showing now. And I went back to the viewing collection and looked through things, and seeing the selection, even if it's not only on a screen and not in the gallery space, I was still really happy to see it. And I felt like, okay, I can look at these images for a while and I will not feel like, oh yeah, seen it, done that. The thumbnail is good. No, and it feels like I really want to look into them more. So I hope those of you who've been to the exhibition enjoyed it. I hope more of you have a chance to go there. And I don't know, you seem to live all over the place, but if you have a chance, it's also worth visiting the Halide, because it's a really fabulous place. I
Stig,
was surprised, Dale, when you said that it's 3 years since you opened, wasn't it? I thought you had like 10 years.
well, it's 3 years, maybe 4 years since the darkroom opened. So Halide's been around for 10 years. This is actually our 10-year anniversary this year, but the darkroom didn't open till after the pandemic.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I think it was either 2021 or 2022 when we actually like opened it to the public. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. Well, congrats with that, because 3 years, and it's a pretty nicely settled and well, yeah, built place.
Thank
So
you.
it doesn't seem like it's still finding its shape. It's really well
Yeah,
made.
thank you. Yeah, yeah, we did like pop-up exhibitions for the first several years. So that's where we had like most of our experience was in like producing exhibitions. So that kind of transitioned to our permanent space like relatively seamlessly, like pretty well. And then it was just yeah, building out the dark room and rolling out that whole program that happened more recently. And actually, Stig, I'm curious, since you curate and jury um, in another country and also artists from a bunch of different countries, I'm curious if there were any, if you saw any difference in like the type of work that was submitted, either like technically or thematically or conceptually, between like what you saw with the living image submissions and what you've seen like kind of back home or in other venues.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good question. I was thinking about it myself, actually, looking through the submissions, that it felt like Uh, well, I guess looking back home towards the Nordics, the the biggest difference was that the exhibition that I've set up here now is called Resident Landscape, and it's based on the idea of landscape in photography because it feels like there's so many who works with this. Mm. And of course, now you're showing me a landscape, but it felt like for these submissions there were fewer of them.
Mm.
It was definitely a very heavy slant towards landscape in the Nordic region. And also, it feels like there's more in these submissions work with techniques and processes that I think of as older somehow. Like there's nobody here doing gum or print, or salt prints are not so normal, and platinum print, and it's less of that here. So I think there's a different in tradition, basically, that you have more people who've done the processes that were popular before, and then there's people to learn from them.
Mm.
While here there isn't as many. So it's more like new kind of experimental things that are tried out. Yeah.
So that's
Um,
I always use the phrase like historic and alternative process. And so it
okay.
sounds
Yeah.
like we might have more of the historic and you have more of the like alternative from
Yeah.
that kind of description.
Yeah. I guess you could. Yeah. Put it
Interesting.
that way.
Yeah, do you think it's just because there are fewer people doing the historic processes there, or is it harder to get chemistry? Like, what do you think?
Both of those. It's harder to get chemistry. People complain about that, and there's all the rules, and not many places selling things. And then I think it's also a question of teachers that there's fewer people to teach these things, and it's not promoted as much through the school systems. So cyanotype, yes, also that, but the others not so much. Um, and that means there's more of the maybe collage or constructed images and built prints, or and then the chemigrams and lumen printing. And I wouldn't say they're historical. I don't know how you define those exact groups, but it feels more like, yeah, modern experimental. Mm,
Interesting.
yeah. And then also it feels more like these submitted works were more either highly personal, looking at oneself or immediate family, or that's maybe like this one, like smaller things, um, and not so much at the larger world around, maybe.
So more
So
like
I don't know.
inward looking rather than outward looking.
Yeah, somehow. Yeah. Um, and that was interesting to see because I know you live somewhere and you think that's what people do, and then seeing what people do other places, and this during getting to see all the submissions and kind of the behind the curtain part of it was interesting then, because not just a selected show at the end. But I don't feel like I ended up choosing things because of that. Like, oh, I want to see more landscape. No.
Mm.
I think I want to start saying something about these works as well. Um, there was a lot of them, like this one, that was so simple, but really caught my eye to stop and stare at it. And there were people who sent in several pictures that were similar, and then it was hard to choose which one. Like this was part of a series, and really looking into which is the best one to have if it's only going to be one. Um, but I really like simple images where there's something unbalanced, something that is maybe still, but still it feels like there's action waiting to happen. There's a now that could happen soon. And finding that balance in photography, I find is hard. It's this decisive moment thing, but still, when the movement stops and when it's still action, it's not hasn't stopped. And then this one was also interesting because there's that one and another one. There's two portraits in this selection where you really don't see the face properly. And me personally, I prefer not portraits. Nothing wrong with photographing people, but as soon as I see a face or the face is the important part of an image, I feel like I'm thinking about that person and whatever I put into that person's face rather than the story around the rest of the image. So it depends so much on what the face looks like, and that's kind of annoying. But when you don't see the face, that is more interesting to me.
I think as
And the idea, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I was going to say, as we scroll back up through the image, if people didn't notice, we hit the end, and so I'm going back up. So Stig, obviously you can talk about specific images, but I think also if people have any questions about any specific images, you can throw questions into the chat, like questions for Stig, number one, questions about particular images, and if there are any kind of technical questions or questions that could be best answered by the artists, we can see if the artists are in attendance, and then I can like allow them to put their mic on, like turn their mic on, and they can answer. So just as we go back up through it, things to think
Yeah,
about.
absolutely. Yeah, and I love this. That felt like, can I choose this? Because it feels too personal. I've made this series of bed sheets with imprints on, but they were positive photographs. They were from photograms from film photograms and black and white. But the idea of making the imprint of somebody sleeping, I really like. And then several of the works that were submitted had titles. I really like titles, and it's hard to find a good title, but when you do, yeah, you should work towards finding one. And this one was so evocative. Yes, you can kind of see the impression, but you need some help from the title in this work. At least when you don't see the actual physical pillowcase in an exhibition. But getting the title and seeing this, I really like. I feel like I'm there. I'm allowed to be part of the making of this image. If that's something about photography, you kind of want to be part of the image. You want to be there, or I want to feel like I'm experiencing being there, whatever there means to the photographer. And there doesn't have to be too real either. It can be pretty imaginary. And it's nice when it's somehow, maybe even if it's made up by the photographer, like here, but this for me is like, yeah, it's a collage. I love it when people put things together and you build up the image, but especially when it feels like the image is built up and the subject here, I can have my eyes wander through these streets and between the buildings and then be confused because it doesn't really work out, sum up any reality. But it lets me wander through and be there somehow, even if it there is not real. Yeah, oil print. There was a question. What's an oil print?
Yeah, and I just put in the chat, I'm not sure if Tibor is here to
I'm
answer.
guessing it's drum oil print, maybe. It
Yeah.
felt like that when I was looking at this, because when you zoom in, you really feel the texture in this print. Um, and to me, that's what made this print stand out, that I can believe that when it's exhibited, you can feel the surface of the print. That it's really textured, and all the foliage and the nature and the stuff growing there, I would imagine in a print it would feel like it's almost there. But I don't know if I can explain exactly what a bromoil print is or an oil print.
Oh, Brianna just put a link to some information on oil prints in the chat. And I did them once ages ago, but I don't really remember the details of the process. But I think it could be a gum oil or a bromoil print. So I'm not sure exactly what type of oil print this is, but probably gum or bromoil. But it's known for having that kind of like painterly quality.
Yeah. And the feeling of the now that I was talking about, and then the now that is now and now and now. I like that as part of this Tom Trusty's work. He had several pictures, and the way they, yeah, okay, there's many negatives, they're next to each other, fine. But with the difference in the texture and the way he prints them, makes them feel like they're moving a bit through time when I'm looking at them. And again, this was a hard one with several images and then choosing which one. Um, and then it's the thing of looking at each image and saying which one will stand best alone. Um, I felt like all of his images did. But this one seemed to me, zooming in, that it had lots of details in the branches. Um, so this one was the one I wanted the most to see in real life.
Mm. You'll have to come to Philly.
I I do.
I Bridget's asking in the chat how much of the work in the show is 3D and is the actual pillowcase in Rosalba's sculpture there. And neither of us has seen the show in person. I'm not going to be able to see it until the end of the month, but they should be there. I mean, the work that's selected is shown like in its intended form. So the pillowcase, um, the 3D. Oh, Colleen, you went to see the show. So the three-dimensional pieces should be there in three, yeah, like in
Right,
person. Yeah, like in their actual form.
right. Yeah, I imagine it would be the real thing. And thinking
Yeah.
about that, like, I want to see this real thing. This one was also funny. I had a hard time with this, going back and forth with the images that were sent in, and then there's notes on them, and some people write something or some people don't. I wasn't quite sure, Dale, if for the jurying, if really is it so few people that write anything with their photographs? Because most of them didn't have any explanations or stories
I
behind.
Yeah, I feel like it's like people don't necessarily maximize that like notes section or however it's framed, but yeah, people are encouraged to put information about their work in there because it gives jurors a little bit more insight into the work rather than just the image and the title. So,
It's nice when the image can speak for itself, but like this one, it was really hard to understand. Is it on a mirror? Is it uh, like a daguerreotype, or is it just glass in front of the print, or is the what's wrong here, or what is it I'm trying to see? Because it was interesting to zoom in and think about it, but I wasn't quite sure if I could believe what I saw. And then having the just explanation that it's underfixed, and then the explanation of the story behind this weird title about this being a house or a ruin that had been seen and imagined, like this could be where the Swamp Thing was living. And then it was a long time ago, and the house is probably gone now, and the print is also going because it's badly fixed.
Mm.
Um, Kind of was nice. I liked the image anyway, but it made me trust my senses a little bit more, especially when this is on a screen. It's harder to be sure. So yeah, getting just a little bit of information, like knowing the other thing was an oil print, would have helped, rather than just guessing that it is. Mm.
Yeah, I've heard that too with other talks by jurors or curators that like including some information, some further information in that extra notes section or however it's framed in whatever platform people are using, that it can be really informative and very helpful. And I would say like probably don't put like a War and Peace length like statement in there, but just a little bit that might give some background um, or context for the image might be
Yeah,
helpful, like informative.
a little thing. And don't be too like boastful, but explain what it is so it's easy to trust my eyes. I've done this during with like on Picture, where you have so many things you can fill in about each image you send in with your submission. And then there's 600 submissions, and they all have 20 images, and they all have text for the project and text about the photographer and text about each image. It really makes you think about, okay, I need to read 2 lines and then I know what this is about. You don't need to tell me the rest. Um, but when you start writing, I guess it's hard to stop. Hmm. This one gave the information that it was on a mirror, and that was really nice to have because I like the image, but knowing that, oh, physically in a room, it's going to be more is helpful.
Well,
Um,
that's interesting because you said that you don't prefer portraits, but this is a portrait with a clear face. So what made you gravitate towards this image?
there is again a now. There's something happening, and it's the now that is the thing. It's not my imagination about this person, how nice she is, or what story she has with the photographer, but rather I'm here with her and she's doing something now. And that makes me more interested in the photograph of a person. Um, yeah, it's not enough with wrinkles and a big smile. It has to be an activity and now an actual connection. Yeah. And then there were all the images that were kind of totally abstract or constructed and built up by the photographer. I believe there were several in this series. I really like this one. Um, Again, yes, I know it's built up and it's constructed in the darkroom and there's no camera involved, and I can enjoy that kind of work myself, but I know how hard it is to get to where you feel like you actually built something, where it's not just things happening on a paper, but there's something behind that paper that seems to come out. Um, and this one for me felt like, yes, there's a viewpoint here. It's not just uh, abstract stuff happening without the photographer being in control. And the same thing here. This is so much more uh, control and storytelling. And I have worked a lot with stones and rocks myself. Mm. And I enjoy having a subject that is so, in a way, dead and un, uncooperative or not giving much. But then getting as much as you can out of it is super interesting. And then having this with the title next to it also gives a lot more because, yes, it's not just my imagination running, it also the photographer's imagination running. And that that helps a lot with the feeling like, okay, it's not just me being weird. There is something weird. This image. This one, go back. Caroline Roberts is the one that I have picked out to invite for an artist residency at the Cyan Darkroom in Oslo. I don't think she is here now, but I've been emailing her and I hope we can make it work out sometime next year so that she can come over and maybe work with some Norwegian rocks, or maybe she turns to something else. But I would very much like to work next to her and also share her work and her inspiration with the other members in the darkroom, and hopefully with more people in Oslo and Norway.
Great. Yeah, that was a wonderful and generous kind of added bonus for people who submitted work, that the potential for being selected for that residency. That was wonderful.
I just enjoyed residencies so much myself, so I really recommend other people to go to them and meeting other communities. I mean, this is a type of craft and communities driven sport. I feel like we need to share things with each other to push it forward. This again is also like kind of the image where I feel there is a now, there's something happening, I'm here. It's a very simple image, and it could so easily just have been about the shape of the plant, about the light, about the funny angle of something. But then there's this person watering it and coming in, and it's just like a weird now, but it's an interesting now. And it's both like I'm engaged, I'm there, and it's, I don't know, somehow touching or humane. It's an act of um, uh, help and comfort and nourishment and all of these good things in a very harsh light and a harsh photograph. But it's, I don't know, tender in a weird kind of combination. Yeah, I like it.
I think one thing that it seems like with that one and then the cyanotype by Liz Sales, like when you talk about the now, there seems to be a connection to gesture. Is that something that you are consciously like aware of when you're where you're referring to the now? Or is that just like a coincidence that I know
It's
it?
easier to point out when there's a gesture, when there's a human element of action.
Mm,
But to me, the now is also the just a viewpoint. Like your eyes are open suddenly. Like, yeah, you can look around, but then suddenly you see something. That's a now. Uh, and it's this thing of it can be still, and it doesn't have to be a lot. Like this one, I don't know. Is there a gesture? I feel like there's a gesture in the eyes.
mm,
This uh, just the connection with, okay, now I suddenly see the eyes. And this could have been a face and a portrait and a person, but it feels more like a situation and a connection somehow, and a sudden, yeah, something that happens sudden that you can say this is now, but it's already past. It's on a photograph. But I remember it as the now I was there.
I like the idea of the now just being the past, like it's immediately no longer
Mm.
now.
Yeah.
I love that idea.
And in some of these images are built up slowly, like this one. So the now is more elongated somehow, but it's still a presence that is, maybe it's continuing, so it's not like a short now, but a long now. These images were really strange to me, but they were intriguing, and I tried so hard to imagine what they would look like in real life, and zooming in and out and on a large screen and everything. Um, I hope I chose the best one, or the one that could work well in a real life gallery, because they were all different. And this was the one I remembered the most when I came back and looked at all the pictures again. Yeah.
I like that idea of you looking over everything once and then really focusing on the ones that stayed with you. Like the images that you really remembered and made like an impression for when you went back to them the second time or maybe the third time. Like that idea that some of them really stuck in your mind.
Even if you can't like remember each of the images and describe them, when you see them again, you know them in a different way. Yeah. And then this thing of sorting through old photographs or making a set of images. This felt almost like a sneaky way of making a set of um, 20 images instead of just having one. Um, but then it's an overall story arc, and I think it works really well. It's something about the composition of the images as well that makes it into one whole, that I really like. Um, And then it's the thing of it being a cyanotype. Cyanotype, it feels like it's used too much, because it's exciting, I guess. And then is it really useful for everything it's used for? I'm not sure. But here, for me, the connotation of it being homemade and slightly old feeling and somebody wanting to connect with the hands and doing something, it feels like the underlying things of cyanotype connects with the images in this. Um,
I, I
but
think,
it's a difficult balance, I find, this when it works and when it doesn't.
and I feel like going back to your concept of now, like this like conglomeration of images, there's so many nows. Like literally, they look like the time range that the images are from is very wide, and then the actions happening in each image is varied. So that like the idea of now is kind of like bouncing all over the place in this like set.
Yeah. Yeah, the overall idea of now is this as one image. So the now is outside of the images and it's me looking at them and remembering stuff. So in a way, we get to take the place of I guess, the photographer, but the one who remembers all of these things
Mm.
and experience the now that you have when you remember things, outside of the normal photograph. And yeah, that's a good segue to this one. The way it's like outside the photograph, but it's still the memory of them, and it's the photograph at the same time. Um, this is the overall winner, grand prize winner, like it says, Andy Matten, um, and his picture Ghost, and it's from a series of many of these. And it's this thing of the photograph that is hidden inside the photograph that you don't really see, but it's there, and it's another layer to that idea of a photograph as a memory of something and a keepsake and a witness. And to me, it's a commentary on how photographs work, how they work on us. Um, and again, back to the now, how they are ever present, but they're not now, but they have been a now. It's a very hard thing to pinpoint in his photograph, I think, and that's what made me really think hard about this one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it also like we were talking with a previous image with Shayna's image, you're talking about like memory, which again is a perfect segue into this work because it makes me think about memory and how like the way memory is physiologically recalled isn't as what's the word? Um like literal and truthful as we often think. Like you think your memories are are accurate representations of what happened in the past, but that's not really how memory works. It's almost like a degrading process. Every time you take a memory out of the proverbial filing cabinet in your mind, it degrades a little bit. And so these images make me think of that kind of concept of memory recall and how it's imperfect and how it fades over time. Um, and just for, I guess, for people who are in Philly, but also for our online community, part of the prize of being grand prize winner is that that person's, so Andy's work in this case, forms the foundation of our spring show, which I curate around that person's work. And so that show will be opening in March, the first weekend in March, and it will include Andy's work and then the work of two other artists. And he'll be doing one of these light talks in March. So he'll be able to talk a little bit more about his process, which isn't strictly an image transfer, but obviously he can go into that further. So that's something to kind of look forward to.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's nice to know that he's going to give the talk online as well for people who
Yes.
can't be there.
Well, he'll do the light talk, like this Monday night talk sometime in March. We haven't set the date yet, or maybe we're bouncing dates around, but it'll be sometime in March. Um, and yeah, there's a lot of photochemistry nerdness in this whole process, which is awesome.
Really, I want to hear about that.
Yeah.
I also got a message from him actually saying that he couldn't be here tonight, and I was yeah, bummed about that, but he had obligations, and then he was super excited about doing this show and getting to light. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it'll be a great show. It's shaping up to be a really nice show.
yeah, and that's a funny thing as well with this. Seeing the images after the jury, all the jury is anonymous. So now I finally seen the names of people, and I know this is a photographer I've followed for a while, and I think I only seen color work, but I really like it. So I didn't recognize this at all, but I still picked it. There were several series like this combination collages things, and it was again a hard choice, but the variation in this, I kind of ended up with going against what I normally like the most because I'm really into these sets of images that are like typology of the same image many times, kind of. But then this one had the variation that somehow worked really well and stood out. The abstract creation in this, I love it. And the combination of the different 9 images together and the way they're set up is great. Oh yeah, and again, very hard choice with several images, and then choosing something that is as abstract as possible, but still feels like a landscape to my Nordic soul. Was super exciting. Of course, technique and process is great, but then it's how you use it and what kind of images you build on rather than just destroy is super important. But this is great. Yeah, again, this anonymous thing. This one is actually a photographer living in Norway, and I didn't know when I was touring. I was trying to promote this living image exhibition and open call, but I didn't know if anybody were going to send in. Um, but I was told afterwards, like, yeah, this is you. You actually know this photographer. Um,
Well,
so
that's
super happy about that, but it was totally like unknown. Um,
yeah,
and
I think
again,
we're go
yeah,
ahead.
go back.
No,
Um,
I was just gonna say, like with the anonymous jurying, it's kind of interesting to see like what people choose without knowing, without having an artist name associated with the work and whatever baggage or whatever comes with that knowledge.
Yeah, some things you kind of, there's a style. People have a style, so you pick up on things anyway, but then not always. But again, the faceless portrait. Um, I'm curious about how big this one is and the other one with the blue, the horse, if they're large prints or small prints. But I hope that they're different sizes and that they would go well, like in the same room. Um,
I think, Colleen, if you or anybody else who went to the show, who've seen the show in person already, if you remember how big or small these images are, put it in the chat.
okay, that's an answer. 810-ish, 912. Okay, so they're not too different then.
Small, yeah.
Um, yeah, okay, 912. This has an amazing title. I hope people look at that as well. And yeah, the now that I can hear happening. It's great. Looking through all the submissions and trying to choose, it was also this idea that came about it being 3 different types of images, and I really wanted to go with a variety and not limit down to one type, even though, yeah, okay, there's some themes that I feel are connected. So having some of these more real looking, recognizable images, I really liked. And then when they stand out like this with this strong, like stoppage effect of action, but decisive moment stop, I can really like that. It feels almost constructed, but I don't think it is. I think it's real. Yeah, and these were just beautiful. And there were several of these, and looking back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, I'm pretty sure I picked my absolute favorite, but it was hard. Yes, and this was kind of strange looking at because it's not much happening and it's so built up, but then there's just enough stuff happening in there to give meaning to the rest. It reminds me a lot more about the painting and some paintings I've seen, but it does have this real feeling of reality connected with it.
Yeah, or like tile or glass art, or there's like a
Yeah.
non-photography feel to it. Yeah. Well, especially with what you were saying before, and I agree, there's a lot of cyanotype out in the world, and so to see it being used in a kind of interesting way, I think is really nice.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, and this image came back to me so many times. This was a surprising favorite.
Why
I tried so hard.
surprising?
Hmm?
Why surprising?
Because looking at it, and especially on a screen and trying to zoom in, I had a hard time figuring out if the print quality is good or if it's rough in the right sense. But the image itself just is so strong, and it is an image that can absolutely be pretty rough, but at the same time, it needs to be rough the right way. Um, and as long as it just says silver gelatin, it's hard to know. Um, but the whole idea for this exhibition felt like it was connected between this one and the ghosts image to me.
Mm.
Um, yeah, with the idea of there's something happening and a photograph is telling me that it's happening and it's hard to grasp when it's going to happen. Yeah, but I can
Uh,
feel the tension.
Sorry, I'm gonna go back to Roland's photo because he put in the chat, oh, that it was not constructed. So this image was taken like while the action was happening and not set up,
Yeah,
I think is that what you're saying, Roland?
I believe so. It looks like it's really
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah, the lighting looks like the lighting in like a dance competition or some kind of live event.
Perfectly executed. Yeah, and then the typology that, yes, I love. And with something like this, it really hits me. I kind of was wondering if is this a photographer that has looked into what I do and what I'm interested in my own work before submitting. Kind of curious about that, but I love this with the background story of just the title and then the feeling of okay, there's so much you can read into this. Even if it's not water towers in Germany, it's still like a typology of human activity. Um, so simple. Yeah, and yeah, these ones were also hard because they seemed almost too simple, but then so nice. And again, title and the feeling in them are connected so well. Untitled title, to me, it shouldn't be allowed. But then having in brackets the real title, okay, I'll give you that. But the softness of the image, working with the whole feel and the idea, um, it could so easily be overly spiritual or overt in some uh, sense of being mystical in the way it's made. But then, no, it's just being done in the right way. I love it. Yeah. And also, yeah, this talk about what kind of processes and historic or alternative. Do you, is this historic or alternative?
And that's the question, right? It's a historic process.
Yeah, to me, it's historic.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I've seen many prints made like this, but then it's not so popular around here. And I think it's just down to not enough people having done it earlier and then teaching new people.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think like the historic processes can be used in like an alternative way. Uh, and that just makes me think of something you said, I think about the previous image, like the balancing of things and doing things in like just the right way. There's a lot of kind of subjectivity or like trying to find that balance in how you are looking at the images or experiencing the images. So I think that can probably be applied to those like historic or alternative process, like that nomenclature where it doesn't have to be one or the other. It could be something something historic used in like a novel or contemporary way that makes it fall into the realm of alternative process or experimental photography or whatever term seems to apply.
yeah, it has to somehow be connected with the subject or at least for the theme. I feel it works really well here with this, and there were several of these images, and then it feels not historic, but it feels
Mm.
old, but today, and in a really nice way of I don't know this non-faced person who's somehow trapped inside the frame. Um,
Well,
yeah,
The title speaks to that too, because like the term housewife is a bit old-fashioned, and her dress looks like it could be a vintage dress, and the wallpaper looks like it could be older wallpaper. In the process, it has that kind of almost backwards looking but contemporary feel to it. And the title helps with that feel as well.
And the process then with this handmade, homemade. Yeah, this just feels so modern, even though it's probably not. I really like the idea in this exhibition to think about this overall selection and then think about how things work together. And I'm so happy to have some colorful stuff, really strongly colored. But I think these are not too big, or are they big? Um,
Someone who's at the show, Colleen.
I think they're kind of small, but I would have loved to see some of these big ones. No,
No,
it's
yeah, not big. Yeah. Like hat like 18 by or sorry, 8 by 10 kind of size, or even smaller than that.
um,
Smaller.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, but so easy to make and so powerful when it's made nicely. And this one, again, this back to the thing of the overall exhibition. There was a comment on are the works, is the pillow actually there, and is this one actually there, the 3D works. And it's nice curating or during a whole exhibition to include stuff that somehow moves the room around a bit.
Mm.
Uh, I've been thinking a lot about this after curating this Nordic show, because there we've included several things that are in the room, and it feels almost like there's not as many submissions of things of photographs that are in the room, of course, as there are submissions of photographs that are on the wall. And if it's going to be an exhibition with something in the room, you have a bigger chance of getting in if you make something that is in the room. Um, but this one feels like I'm hoping that it's placed on a pedestal somewhere, not into the wall, but out in the room, because it's something that I would really like to walk around and sit down and try and look underneath and study as a specimen.
Candace Colleen, is it on a pedestal? I can also, it is.
Yes.
Yay. I was gonna go up and see if it's in the installation shot anywhere. No.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Oh, maybe this is it here.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
in the back. Okay, good, good. Yeah, middle pick, nice.
All right.
Yeah, and I was that the pink one again. I was really curious about how it would look in real life, because that's also a thing here with, okay, it's only on the screen. How does it really feel? But looking at the others that were submitted and zooming in and out, and uh, feels like this would be powerful seeing it in real life.
It looked bigger in the installation shot on the pedestal, even though it was like a small part of the picture. Like I was
Yeah, I
picturing
don't think it's too small.
smaller.
No.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and then there were some images, and I feel like there always should be some that is like, I don't know what this is, but I like it. This is intriguing and interesting, and with all of the title going with it, it's like, yes, I'm building things in my head. I'm trying to see what's in there, and then I get lost in the picture. And it feels great when it's believable that there's something happening, and I can't quite understand it, but I like it. Um, there's a fine balance there where it's like I can't understand this, so I'm trying to fill in some meaning myself, or when I feel there is something there and I'm lacking, not the image. And actually that can be enjoying, that enjoyable feeling.
Yeah, it's like work that's thought-provoking.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really want a story behind that other one. I can just live in it. And the same with this one. Um, that took a while to kind of get my bearing and find out how I'm standing, but with the other pictures in the series, they didn't make it any easier to understand either. But I like it a lot, and with the break in the middle, makes it just perfect. Um, yeah.
I'm gonna scroll back down because Mango Tomatoes, whose real name we don't know, unless that is their real name, is asking who was the artist for the photo that showed someone watering a plant. And I remember that was towards the end. So oh, this one.
Oh yeah.
Sophie.
So yeah, I wondered about that too, because that sounds to me like a Danish name, maybe. It's a Nordic name. Um,
I don't know if she's here.
don't think there's anybody here.
Let's
Um,
see. No, it doesn't look like she's here. But Queen Village is in Philly, so I'm wondering if she's a Philly local. I don't know her myself. But yeah.
and is that a philodendron? I was surprised. I thought they looked different.
I don't know. I don't know. If there are any plant people in the audience, let us know if that's really a philodendron. Thought they were flowery. I'm not
Yeah,
good with
right.
domesticated plants like that. Okay, so we went through a couple times. Stig talked about his, oh, Bridget is confirming that Sophie is in Philly. Yay.
Oh, okay. Huh.
Thank you, Bridget. Yeah, so Stig, you talked about your approach broadly. You talked about some of the images and like what you were seeing and responding to specifically in the selections for this show. So if anybody has any questions for Stig, um, or for any of the artists, I'm not sure if many of them are here anymore. But yeah, any questions? Now's the time. Ah,
Oh, wow. Mango
okay,
tomatoes. Thank
600.
you.
Thank you. So this may very well be a philodendron.
One of many.
All right. So if nobody has any questions, now is like your last minute or so to throw some questions in there. But I want to say thank you, Stig, for jurying, but then also for doing this talk and kind of sharing your insights with the audience. And thank you for everyone for coming tonight. Thank you to everyone who submitted work to the show. And congratulations to both Caroline, who was invited to do the residency at Science Studio. And why am I spacing out? Oh my God, Andy, thank you. Whew. Andy, whose work will be on our walls in March. The opening will be the first Saturday in March. So people who are local can mark your calendars. And then Andy's talk and the talks by the other two artists as part of this light talk series should be up on the website within a couple of weeks, I'd say. So you can register for those talks at the same place that you registered for this one. So we hope to see you there. Great. Congratulations, Colleen. Congratulations, everyone who was part of the show, people who were able to see the show in person, people who volunteered for Halide at the opening, our excellent exhibition gallery coordinators, Kalina and Julia. Thanks to everyone who played a part in putting the show together.
You. Great work.
All right, on that note, thank you again and good night, everyone.